Thank you for joining me again. In today's video, I'm just going to quickly talk about Mabon this year and my plans on how to celebrate it and how I will be celebrating. And at the end of this video, I'm really hoping that you will find new ways of celebrating, even if you're in a broom closet or wardrobe, as some might say. So a little bit about Mabon. There's plenty of videos and resources online to find out the history. It is an ancient celebration of harvest. It's one of the 3 harvest celebrations. So the first harvest celebration is Lamas, which begins in the start of August. That's gone by already. And the second celebration is Mabon, and this is just approaching, as it will happen astronomically on the 23rd of September. So the third harvest festival of the season is Samhain, and I will be making a video on about that. So it is the celebration of the second harvest. It is a good time to find balance and equality in our lives. It's good to reflect back and be grateful and have more gratitude towards things. So you have some food associations with this season, such as gourds, grapes, pumpkins and apples. Popular activities are pumpkin picking, that's just approaching, or apple picking currently, especially within the Northern Hemisphere and within our area. If you're curious, we live in Kent, close to the most haunted village of Pluckley, and we do have a few orchards in the area that do offer pick your own apples. So if you're a closeted witch, if you haven't told anyone and would like to keep it secret, it's a good time to go and pick some apples or some vegetables, either in your own garden if you've grown any, and or just go for a pick your own farm. It's just a great family activity as well if you've got younger children. So yeah, it is a good time to reflect and make a list of things that you are grateful for as well. And it's just good to recognize your own achievements and reflect on things that do not serve you anymore. So yeah, it's important to set good intentions, to sort of plan ahead and get rid of bad habits. So any spell work that involves getting rid of bad habits or bad intentions, releasing bad feelings, or potentially wanting to achieve more, this is a good time to start practicing or to start planning as we approach Samhain, which is, as we call it, the Witch's New Year. So the symbols associated with Mabon is cornucopia, which is quite traditional. For a lot of people, symbols such as leaves, acorns, pentacles, pine cones, apples, corn and pumpkins are also symbols of the season and ultimately symbols of Mabon. The colours that relate to Mabon are orange, yellow tones, rich reds, burgundies, shades of mossy, olive greens. So if you can't celebrate this particular harvest, it's also a good idea to just wear the seasonal colours and to fully embrace the feeling of autumn and the change that's in the air as the veil becomes thinner. Some of the herbs you might want to use in cooking, such as rosemary, sage, or even burning, you know, if you got little charcoal, those little bricks that you set alight, you can put in rosemary, sage, mugwort or yarrow, just to kind of have that autumnal smell. You may even find yourself looking through different scented candles And although it is not traditionally a celebration of Mabon, it can be like a personal celebration for you, a personal kind of ritual that you do every year. Go to a shop or a small business in your local area and pick out an autumn scented candle that can give you this warmth throughout the darker season. So some of the stones you might wear or you might have basically around, especially if you collect crystals, is citrine, jasper are two very common ones, and also amber, even though it's more of like a fossil resin. Personally, I enjoy using tiger's eye and carnelian as they have these rich autumnal colours, and so I personally wear quite a lot of amber, and during this season I just sort of cover myself in it, and citrine because that's my birthstone. So flowers, marigolds are in the season as well as sunflowers, so you may feel like you want to decorate your home with marigolds or with sunflowers. I know a lot of shops at the moment in our area especially, or within the UK, do sell a lot of sunflowers. There's a few farms that I've come across that offer pick your own sunflowers, which is like £1.50 or like £2 for a massive stem sunflower with seeds. It's a great way to also basically support your local businesses, florists and everything. It's really, I think, also important to participate within the community. You may want to also go out for a walk, either in the forest, surrounded by the autumnal colours and nature. Sometimes I find myself during the season taking walks in a graveyard. Now I know, well, cemetery, I know that this is a bit controversial to some people, but I find that I can concentrate better in such a place where people have come to basically rest, where lives have ended. As the season ends, I see a lot of synchronicities with that, and sometimes walking around or just spending time in silence is really good for me. And I think that it's beneficial for a lot of people to just sometimes sit down with your own thoughts in a quiet space, especially if you live in a more urban area. I've lived in a city beforehand, and the only space that I found that didn't have that many people and was quite quiet and calm and tranquil was the cemetery. So I would often sit there on a bench and just observe it. And I used to do this during the autumn months as days would grow darker. But as we moved into the countryside, I do find myself going more into forests, woods and fields, just to kind of I don't know, stay in my own kind of bubble and think about what I'm grateful for, especially as Mabon approaches. Animals associated with Mabon are stags and owls, especially for me. Owl is more of a, how would you put it, a spirit animal, as some people classify. You have a lot of stag energy, a lot of, especially if you're a Wiccan, you're approaching more of like this god energy, not just the goddess, but also goddess. Everything is harmonized and balanced. Now, I'm going to have a look at ways to celebrate this. So, as I mentioned before, you can go for a nice autumnal walk with your family. It also depends on the weather and what you really enjoy. You can have even a feast at home, cook something up, an apple pie, for example, or an apple, cake, anything you want out of apples, or gourds, or even grapes, pumpkins, as mentioned before. So you can incorporate that into your practice, especially if you're sort of undercover witch. It's a good way just to kind of celebrate the season personally. You can perform a ritual, so give thanks to God and Goddess, or just to Mother Earth, a lot of gratitude. So you can make even a crafting kind of session where you make a little box, a gratitude box, or like a gratitude bag, and every time you're grateful for something, or you just sit down every single day or once a week, whenever you can really, write a simple thing that you're really grateful for and put it in your little bag or your little crafted box. And once you're feeling quite low, as the darker seasons approach, have a look in that bag or your box, pull out a little piece of paper that you folded in, and you can read that message, what you're really grateful for, and remind yourself that even though it's really, really dark, there's still good things about it. There are still things to be happy and grateful for. Personally now, as on Mabon Day on the 23rd of September, for my family, we don't really, how would you put it? My partner, he's not really into the whole, paganism. He's non-religious really, so I don't really force anything upon him, but for dessert, for a little boy and us, I'll be making an apple pie basically, because that's something we all really enjoy, with a bit of either ice cream or custard as a treat. And I find myself all the scraps from the apples that I don't really throw them out, and the bits that I don't use, I put them in a little bag, and I take them out usually into the nature once I go for a walk, and I bury these unused apple pieces into the ground, as I've done my research that apple enriches the soil quality and helps plants to grow. So in a way, I feel like I am grateful for the bountiful harvest of apples after apple picking, and make it into something we can all enjoy. And I give that tiny bit back into earth, that little bit of, apple, to make the soil richer in the area. Now, you can't really put everything into the soil or just bury it simply, as some things are not as beneficial. So it's always important, if you're not using some ingredients or anything else, or you have scraps from vegetables and fruits, that you do your research and see whether you can actually put them back into the nature, into soil, or bury them under, because some things you may think are beneficial but they actually aren't that great, and might even take longer to decompose, or might even pose a threat to wildlife. Last year, for example, in our area, lots of people were told to basically dispose of pumpkins safely, because some hedgehogs have eaten it and were found poorly basically in the area, like on the side roads and whatnot, and weren't going into hibernation, or have passed away unfortunately. So it's always important to do your research before you put anything back into earth, as you should appreciate our planet. And Mabon is all about gratitude. So yeah, I just hope that you found some ideas of how you might want to celebrate Mabon, or the 23rd of September. And yeah, I just hope that you have a lovely time. As I said before, I'm trying to get this video out a bit earlier, because sometimes some videos literally about Mabon come on Mabon, or very, very late, without much notice. And a lot of times when I was searching for materials on YouTube to learn more about Mabon, I did find myself struggling and thinking, well, kind of putting myself under pressure and thinking, oh no, I need to prepare myself, and I don't have enough time. So hopefully when you view this, you do have at least a week to prepare if you want to celebrate Mabon or not, and find out more information online or through books. If you have any suggestions for videos or anything else, or would like to share the way that you are planning to celebrate Mabon this year, please leave a comment underneath, give it a like, and please subscribe if you do like my content. And I hope to see you on the next video. Thank you very much.